Hello everybody, welcome back. Let's have a look at everything, but we'll start with Bitcoin. So basically Bitcoin's moving up towards this area of resistance, this resistance box which begins at about 44,000, ends at about 46,000, and anything above 46,000 is effectively a very good chance that the bull market, I suppose the bull market is never ended as far as I'm concerned, but the bull market would basically be continuation from that point forward. So the reason we say that is that first of all we look at the weekly. The weekly, we'll have to turn the Bollinger Bands on. The weekly Bollinger Band center, which is the 20 weekly, the be all and end all is 45,250. We'll call it 45,300. And if we move it to the daily, we've got our 200 moving average, which is pretty much at the same place, really, 45,220 or thereabouts. So although we're getting a rejection at the moment based on the Bollinger Band on the daily, this is the main area. So once reclaimed this kind of zone, especially the 46,000, which is just a little less than that as those two major moving averages, and again we're looking for daily closures above these zones, and while we're below them we have to expect rejection. It's basically the rule basically, but once above them then there's a very good chance of continuation over a longer period of time. We're talking the bull market that we're all used to, which is up only and not this sideways nastiness really, or this sideways boring, well, whether you call it accumulation or redistribution is open to interpretation. I prefer the concept of accumulation, but redistribution is is the opposite of that. It's basically gearing up for a pullback. So while we're still below those major areas on the daily and the weekly, expect rejection. We can't go full bore, hardcore bull market straight to the moon, all those amazing promises of get rich and blah blah blah. While below those zones, we do have to be skeptical of how high this could possibly go, but for the moment it's just continuing with this range, the top range being 46,000. The bottom range so far is in this box, which is about 32,000, but I'm prepared for it to come down to 29 just in case. I'm prepared for all of that. Look, if it comes down to 29 at this stage, it's likely to come down a bit more, but while we're still in this area, with this kind of setup, which is again neither here nor there, expect the top of the range for the moment, as that's the way that we're trending. We don't appear to be having any major areas of concern turning up on the MACD above the 0 point. We're not overextended on the RSI. We've got a nice level of support on the RSI. We're looking to sort of move up a little bit further, I would expect, today. So it does look okay. It does look okay again to trend back into this resistance box. But remember, on the daily and on the weekly, we've got that magical area of resistance within a giant resistance box, which is more or less about 45,000, just above 45,000. So that's your Bitcoin for you. We all recognize, and it's pretty common knowledge now, but it's been like this for a while, but now more than ever, because these pullbacks have been generally, or I say this pullback, this consolidation that everything's gone through, has gone through it together. So stocks and Bitcoin and some other bits and bobs here and there, maybe not so much commodities because they're rallying on a fundamental level. But yeah, stocks and major indices and Bitcoin and obviously altcoins all consolidating as one because of the economic situation. We have got Federal Reserve monetary policy, we've got the tightening, we've got the selling of bonds, we've got all these sort of things going on, and it's caused a downtrend in all markets. Now I've spoken about this loads of times. Markets price everything in, so we priced in inflation from the pandemic onwards, even though inflation hadn't gone up. It was almost a given that it would. Inflation finally kicks in around this level and we continue to go down. Now we have a 0.25 basis point rate hike. We've got another 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 over the next 18 months planned, but we're seeing upside. So it's, like I say, it's counterintuitive. So we expected this, and now we can look at things on a TA basis, because that's what we were looking for. We're looking for a building block. Markets wanted to put some money into something because inflation's high. You don't want to be holding on to vast amounts of cash. You do want to put it to work, but if it's better off having an inflated dollar than basically a terrible performing stock, then I suppose you've got the lesser of two evils is a cash position, but it has been burning a hole in people's pockets literally. And so what we're looking to do here is base the chart, which is the Nasdaq here that we're looking at. We've got a breakout so far, a nice bullish engulfing candle on the weekly. This does look like it wants to continue, and maybe it does continue beyond the 20 weekly again, which is something that we're waiting for Bitcoin. 20 20-weekly for the Nasdaq is 14,550 at this current week. It's got a downwards trend on it, so we do have to expect rejection from it. But if we break above there, then the bull market's on again for stocks. And just because we've got, well, I suppose inflation is good for stocks, but just because they're trying to deal with inflation and all these things that are effectively, what one would consider to be bearish, like I say, the market is counterintuitive. We're expecting a counterintuitive move, yeah? So that's what we've got. And now, based on the technicals, what we're looking for is continuation up. So we got ticked up on the histogram. That's okay on the weekly here. On the daily, what do we have? We still have momentum moving towards the up, so that's actually looking pretty positive still. And I'll be looking for these major areas to be tagged. First of all, a major area of potential resistance just above 14,000, so 14,200 we'll call it. And again, that's not too far off the 20 weekly. 20 weekly is the top of this this Ichimoku cloud actually. So these areas over here would spell continuation in the definitely for this chart to continue to make higher highs and higher lows and basically go to a consistent uptrend. Again, it's early days at the moment. We don't know if we can reclaim those major zones. Same with Bitcoin. We don't know if we can reclaim those zones. But we can be hopeful. But while below them, do expect resistance and a rejection from it. And then we'll just see if this building block that we've begun over here is strong enough to continue to push above those areas of resistance. So in the short term, we are looking for still some upside in the short term. Not massive amounts for Bitcoin and Nasdaq. But what that does for altcoins is different. So again, altcoin, this is total 3, so total market cap excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum, and where have we got it? This one is your total market cap excluding just Bitcoins. They more or less are exactly the same chart. There's really no difference between it. In fact, the one including Ethereum is technically ever so slightly a little bit more bullish, but it's still only just broken out of this giant consolidation. So this doesn't mean an enormous amount of, yes, it's not massively significant, but what it basically means is that the major powerful addition to the consolidation is effectively over. Top, breakout. So that's all it means. That's all it means. Doesn't mean that we can't continue to come down. It does mean that we can obviously continue to go down. But what it generally means is that the speed of the downtrend so far has been reduced and we're starting a new phase. So this could mean sideways accumulation. It could mean complete breakout and all the way to the moon. One Doji coin will be $10,000 million. Could mean that. Or it could just mean it's going to do what Bitcoin did when it broke out of this. Because Bitcoin has broken out of one of these descending trends a little while back. We'll just have a quick revisit of what Bitcoin looked like when it broke out of its. So we called it the electric fence, that's what I was calling it anyway. The electric fence. Every time we had a reaction from it, it was a significant move down. All the way down, and then finally we broke out of it. We had a nice little run into our resistance area, and then back down. A nice little run up to the resistance and down, up to it, and see where we go from here. So breaking out of these areas doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to go straight to the moon. I'm more inclined to believe that the best scenario you can get when you have one of these consolidations, especially a large one, which has been so consistent, is that we do have a period of accumulation. You get these after long periods of consolidation, and this hasn't really been that long, really, if you think about it in terms of the downtrend. 75 days, so it's not that long, less than 3 months worth of downside, to the tune of just over 50%. So it's pretty standard stuff, really, for Bitcoin and crypto. Pretty standard stuff. And so what you'd be looking for would be an accumulation of around the same kind of time frame, really. So far we've been, well, I like to call it accumulation because I've got a bias obviously to the bullish, but I'd want it to be accumulation. So far with 46 days, so it doesn't have to be. That was what 76 days or whatever, and this is now. So you tag in this, on your calendar. It's got to move on day 76. Doesn't mean that. It just means that generally I would expect the same amount of time going sideways as I would expect going down. And this could resolve to the up or to the down. So just bear that in mind. We'll see where we are, you know, as we go forward. So I'm not really looking for this to make, you know, actually break out and go crazy right now. I would be looking for this to kind of hang around sideways, which is good if you're thinking about trading altcoins, because altcoins can sometimes, it's not always the case. There's a few different ways to trade altcoins, as you know, on a blanket term, but sometimes you will find that altcoins do move up, sometimes have rallies, some might call them seasons, when Bitcoin is sideways and boring, and that might be what we would be looking to expect at the moment. So we were talking about this on the live stream about, you know, how you could blindly put in, you know, 5 or maybe 10% of your portfolio into some of these small cap coins that looked good, that had decent setups with coiling springs on the RSI and various other signals that you might find. Small caps are going to be the ones that would likely run the hardest, because we're talking about the market being the indicator rather than the individual altcoin, which is why I suggested only, you know, risk maybe 5 or 10% max of your, you know, available funds, because you're not really buying into buy signals. You're buying into an educated guess that the market's going to rally, and so far it appears to be working out. So like I say, you don't want to risk too much, and you are looking to buy basically supports an educated guess that the altcoin market was going to have a bit of a rally this week, and so far it's certainly doing that. We are seeing some of these coins, these small cap altcoins as well, looking pretty good. In fact, one of my favorite small cap shit coins is BITRUE. We like this one because it is so crap, but it does move, and it's one of the first ones to start the moves, basically, when it starts to go. So we can see that, you know, it doesn't look a great deal, but, you know, we were talking about this on the stream. Educated guess would be that you'd have a reaction around here like we had in the past, and I didn't buy the bottom on this one last time. I bought, you know, when I was confident that it was going to go up, but this time round I did buy the bottom based upon its previous reaction, so it was nice, and then this was a huge rally. Now I'm not in any way expecting a rally of this size, just short of 600%, but a rally all the same. And again, we're in a giant descending triangle for BITRUE. This video isn't about BITRUE, I'm just using it as an example, but we're still in a huge consolidation pattern for BITRUE, and so, you know, the best that you could really hope for in this would be to have bought the bottom or close to it, and then move it all the way up to this resistance. Effectively, that's what it is. If we break out from there, so be it. But I would like to think that people are seeing what I'm seeing and feeling what I'm feeling, which is that the bull market, although I don't believe it's been cancelled, I don't think we're in a giant bear market. Although you have to, you know, put that, you know, you can't just forget that is, you know, not unlikely. It could still happen, so be prepared to take some profit. Now at the moment, something like this is moving with the market, and as far as BITRUE is concerned, there's been a decent move so far from the bottom, 40%, again based on its own chart, an educated guess that it will move because the market, the stars were aligning, you know, things were moving together, and that this one does usually move first because it's a small cap coin, and the order books are thin. They're even, you know, they're still pretty thin now. So that educated guess would be that, you know, small caps like BITRUE are likely to have a decent move based upon the market as a whole, which we are judging from, you know, the total market cap 2 or 3, and the Bitcoin dominance, which was looking a little toppy as well. Now this could all, you know, there could be a giant rug pull for the entire market. You know, there are things moving outside of the charts that we have to be fully aware of, and so we can't get too super turbo bullish on anything right now, but in the short term, you know, again, you know, from the stream we did on, it must have been Friday or Saturday, you know, we were expecting this, now we're getting it. It is happening, yeah, and the small caps are outperforming, which is, again, what we were expecting. But we do have to be a little bit cautious, you know, and not get too greedy on these. And if we get continuation, if we get alt season and we get buy signals, then we can treat them appropriately. But because we bought, or we were expecting these moves based on the overall market, starting from the rate hike, which we were expected a decent move from there, then we started to see breakouts of the total market caps, the total market cap 2 and 3. And then we thought, well, okay, you know, educated guess would be that we're going to get a relief rally. It's not based on buy signals. It's based on a few components that are, I suppose, messily bound together, which has come up with, you know, an educated guess that this is what's going to happen, and so far it's happening. But because none of these altcoins particularly have buy signals, you know, for continuation. You know, there's no continuation of a trend. There's none of this. Doesn't mean that it can't happen. Because there's none of this, doesn't mean that you can be safe in any particular, you know, altcoin or shitcoin position for a prolonged period of time. I think this week might be, you know, we might get the rest of today, we may get tomorrow, you know, we'll see where we go, and most of that is going to be determined by Bitcoin and where Bitcoin goes up to, and if Bitcoin starts to show continuation above these zones or weakness at these zones. Either way, I think that the altcoin rallies will be cut short, whether Bitcoin breaks out and moves or breaks down. Obviously everything else will move down. So long story short, just be careful with how long you hold an altcoin position. Don't get too greedy. Be grateful for your 10, 20, 30, 40% or whatever it is that you've made, and bag it. That's what I'm intending on doing. I'm not looking to you know, hold inordinate amounts, and I'm doing a bit of futures trading, which is something I wouldn't normally do, but the situation, you know, felt appropriate to do that. But again, futures trades for me, how long do they last? You know, a few hours at best. They don't last for longer than that, especially in this kind of environment. It's not the time. I'm not looking for an alt season. Don't think that that's what's happening right now. Alt rally, which is what I was saying yesterday. Right, I'll leave it with you there, guys. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a nice day. Take it easy.